Now, I can of my own self do nothing. I can of my own self. In other words, of my own initiative, of my own will, I can't do it. He's dependent upon the Spirit. So when he says to me, the works that I do, so you do, he said, you depend on the Spirit like I depend upon the Spirit, and you can do, he said, even greater works than I'm doing. Most of us be happy if we just hit the same works. We just did as well as he was doing. I can do nothing. As I hear, I judge. As I hear. He's repeating to you what he's heard from the Father. He's doing what he's seen in the Father. He's doing that by the power of the Spirit that came upon him when he was baptized, and he's leaving you to do the greatest work that he's doing, just exactly like he's doing it by the Spirit. Now let me read you the voice. This will be, I have never acted, and I will not in the future act on my own. That's translated this verse. I listen to the directions of the one who sent me and act. I listen to the direction of the one that sent me and act as he directs. See, this is important to me and important to you as we reach out to do the works of God, that all we have to do is lean and depend on the Spirit. I can't heal the sick, you can't either. But the resident power of God comes upon you and works through you. And you can say, I can of my own self do nothing. See, that lets you off the hook completely. You couldn't do it to start with. I can of my own self do nothing. But Jesus said in John 15, the works that I do, you will do. You can do. And you just do it by the Spirit. Now, results don't depend on me exclusively. You have a part to play. I'm going to give my faith to you, and what power is resident or comes through me at the moment. You don't carry the power of 24 hours a day. It comes upon you. It's resident through you. And I'm going to give what I have and what I can to you. And I'm depending on you to hook up with me for us to work together. And if you were, one fellow used this example, I like it. If you were only 66% faith, I could add my 40% faith and we could get you over the line where you needed to be. And we can work together. That's why I let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over here in the name of the Lord, and the prayer of faith will. It doesn't say the prayer of faith might, it could. I hope so. Cross your fingers, never know. The prayer of faith will save the sick, the prayer of faith. Well, you weren't completely in faith. You weren't prepared to pray from faith. But what you knew and where you stood, I added what I know and what I believe, and we together agree. The elders come, those mature in the Lord. You understand that we have help. We're not standing by ourselves. Now, I have never acted, and I will not in the future act on my own. I listen to the directions of the one who sent me and act. It's amazing, isn't it? Amazing. I am committed to pursuing God's agenda, not my own. See, sometimes that's what goes wrong in our life. It wasn't really that God spoke or God directed this. This is just what I wanted. Now, when we redid Daddy's house, Wayne took Daddy over there and put several different swatches of color on the back. They were all shades of orange and rust and tan. That was the norm at the time. And asked him to pick what he liked best. And he said, you'd have to know my mother always had the house painted green. Green. And he looked and looked. He said, why can't we do green? Where's Mama's green? Well, it was a lime green. It was an obvious green. It was, I saw it from 3 blocks out green. You know that shade? Knowing we were going to sell the house eventually, we wanted to be we thought one of the beiges or tans that were in style would be better than Mama's lime green. But he didn't think so. See, and any time you contradict what God is thinking, you're on the wrong pathway. You remember we did Hebrews 12:1, there's a path set before you? You got to stay on the path that God dictates, on the one that he outlines. And you can be honest with God. I say, that doesn't seem like a good idea to me, you know. I'm just telling you in case God gets confused, you know. You have to really help him sometimes. I've tried that. It never works out, by the way, because he's always right. His path is always right. His word always works. The Spirit always comes. He said, ask and you shall receive. Not you might receive, you could receive. I hope you receive. Give it a shot. You could. This might work for you. He says, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock, the door will be open unto you. Everyone that asks receives. That's pretty big. Well, have you ever asked and you didn't receive? Well, we go to James and he gives us several reasons. And if none of those reasons fit your case, then you know, and God doesn't speak to you and tell you, forget it, move on. But it says, you have not because you ask not. So some of the reason we don't receive is we didn't ask. There is a spirit of assumption that dominates many churches. They just assume the will of God's always being done. That's not the case. He said, ask, ask, ask. The will of God's not always being done. And then he says, you have not because you ask not. You have not because you ask amiss, that you may consume it upon your own lust. So I saw something happen, and I asked God, why in the world did that happen? And he said, he only said one word. He said, lust. I went, right. You know, sometimes Wayne and I can't make a decision because he wants me to decide, and I would just rather him decide. I said, where do you want to go for supper? Wherever you want to go. I said, no, you decide. He said, no, I don't, you decide. And we waste 30, 45 minutes.
She knows after I decide.
And we go to the same place we always go to. We only go to 2 or 3 places because I do not like new places. I like to go where I'm always gone, and so that's what we usually do, even though we open our options to do otherwise. You have only one option, the will of God.
Amen.
That's your only option.
Yeah.